I am Jacqueline, and this is my older sister, Alexa, and we are the founders of Dateability, which is the only dating app for disabled and chronically ill people. We also have 48% of our community um, identifies as queer, and that is an astounding number, but there is such a large intersectionality between disabled people and the queer community. It's really beautiful to see how diverse and how inclusive we are, and that people do feel like Dateability is a safe space no matter who they are and how they identify or who they love.
Welcome, everybody. This is the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley. Every week we bring the stories of people who are making the world a better place, locally, globally, and digitally. We think that's a cool way to be thinking about your own possibilities. And as a Rotary Club, as a service organization, that thing of getting together with others who share an interest in improving communities, it's part of the energy that we enjoy so much, right? There are all these people. They bring together like their time, talent, and treasure to make life better for others. That's a good way to spend time. If you are interested in that kind of thing, you can learn more about Rotary specifically at rotary.org or our club at rotary.cool. I love that you can do that. Now, as we think about this, first of all, I'm about to hand it over to our speakers. We've got a fantastic interview and presentation coming up. And in getting to know them, they will tell you a little bit about themselves. But if you are curious to know more, then on the webpage where you find our program and recording, or our YouTube channel, there you go, or on our podcast page, you'll find the full bios, and you are welcome to read those as well. We would encourage you to do so. You'll find links to their background and the Dateability app and this kind of thing. So we're excited. We're excited to hear about this very interesting approach to making the world a better place. And Alexa and Jacqueline, it is such a pleasure for us to have you join us as part of the Rotary Club of Silicon Valley this week. I hand the mic over to you. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. And it's our pleasure. Do you want to start? Yeah. So I am Jacqueline, and this is my older sister, Alexa, and we are the founders of Dateability, which is the only dating app for disabled and chronically ill people. So this story of how we came up with Dateability starts around 2009 when I was 14 years old. I developed various chronic illnesses after a seemingly healthy childhood. And we grew up in a really small town called Telluride, Colorado, and I lived a very sheltered life. So I wasn't experiencing so much ableism in my social life. Definitely some remarks from teachers and from people who didn't know me well, but I had a very typical high school experience with dating. Then I went off to college, and of course, you're in another bubble, and that was fine. And then once I graduated college, I moved to Denver with Alexa, and I signed up for the mainstream dating apps. And part of my chronic illnesses and disabilities is extreme joint pain, fatigue, lots of digestive issues, really symptoms from my head to my toes. So it really does affect every part of my life. And it truly has shaped me into the person I am today. And I realized that the world did not see chronic illness as a strength or something that was attractive. And I received a lot of rejection, a lot of discrimination. For example, people would tell me not to have biological children because I could pass on my chronic illnesses, or they would tell their families about me, and then their families would give them a warning not to date me because I would be a burden. So that was really difficult. And obviously, after you're being told so many times that you are unworthy of a relationship because of this thing that you can't control, you start to believe it. And so my self-esteem was really affected by my dating experiences, and I became sort of a shell of myself, and I really tried to isolate myself as best as I could. and I did not have any confidence. And then back in 2021, and we're still on lockdown in this sort of level playing field, I felt like, with everyone. Everyone sort of got a glimpse into my world of isolation. I had to make the difficult decision with my medical team to get a feeding tube placed, and my feeding tube is placed in my abdomen, and I basically get most of my nutrition from there. And so I don't eat 3 meals a day. I don't eat as a typical person would. And when I do eat, I have major consequences with puking. And that freaked both of us out and how that would affect my social life. So I had reiterated to Alexa that I wish there was a place where I could meet people like me who wouldn't be freaked out about me having a chronic illness or having a feeding tube, and that they would just be a little more understanding. And Alexa suggested that we make this place ourselves, and that's exactly what we did. And so as I had my surgery on November 10th, 2021, and we are in the hospital room. I was there for a week, and we got our notebooks out, started drawing up what we wanted the app to look like. And neither of us had any experience with this. So we just went with our gut instincts and was like, oh, okay, I guess you have to design an app and then eventually find someone to build it, because neither of us are technical. And that's what we did. And then so we launched on October 21st, 2022.
And so we launched, like Jacqueline said, in October, a year and a half ago. And what we wanted to do with the app was bring in our favorite aspects of the other dating apps, which we had both been on before. And so, for example, the liking and matching with people in order to message them mechanism, we liked that. Grindr has a user-driven algorithm, and we wanted to adopt that. We wanted our users to be able to choose for themselves who they wanted to match with and not necessarily leave it up to AI to figure out who's most compatible, because in our experiences, those weren't working for us on the other apps. The other thing that we wanted to make just the issue of disclosure easier. We wanted to solve that problem. So when Jacqueline was dating, a lot of times she would struggle with, how do I tell someone I'm disabled? When do I tell them, and how will they respond? And the disclosure aspect really caused her a lot of anxiety. And we've heard that from so many people in this community, that the disclosure aspect is one of the hardest, just that anticipation. And so we created a Dateability section, which is an extensive list of broad terms like wheelchair user, immunocompromised, food allergy, and that goes on the user's profile under their basic information. And it's a really neutral way of disclosing one's chronic illness or disability. It's really reduces the anxiety. You get to be able to tell other users, like, this is the situation, without getting into the nitty-gritty. And I think it really creates a basic level of understanding and respect without having to have that conversation that so many feel might be kind of intrusive or uncomfortable, at least in the very beginning. And so, for example, Jacqueline would have chronic pain and chronic fatigue on her Dateability section. And so somebody looking at that who matches with her isn't going to go ask her to climb a 14er next weekend, because they know that that's not doable for her. And so they don't have to have that back and forth about what plans to do. They can make accommodations and figure out a plan that works for both of them together. And so it's seamless. We also have image descriptions on the photos, which a lot of the apps don't have. We have a profile verification function that really helps enhance safety. And really, we're trying to make the tech and the app itself accessible, in addition to our mission of making love accessible. Since launching, we have almost 20,000 users, several success stories. They're all over North America. Some have started out as long distance. Some happen to live in the same city as each other. And the disabilities are so diverse. So, disabled and chronically ill people make up the world's largest minority. And I think a lot of people forget that, or they think that disability only looks one way. And that's really not true. One of our success stories, they are both on the autism spectrum. Another success story, he has cerebral palsy, and his partner has a limb difference and psychiatric disabilities. Another success story has chronic illness. Another one was disabled in a bicycle crash, and her partner has Parkinson's. And so it's really, very diverse. There's a variety of disabilities. But the common theme among all these people is that they want love, they're worthy of love, they want intimacy. And I think that's something that the rest of the world forgets and takes for granted. And I know as someone who's not disabled, the world is so accessible to me. I can just, if I wanted to, go out to a brewery on a Saturday and meet all these people. And it's just not like that for a lot of people. And it wasn't like that for Jacqueline. And so while we set out to solve this problem that she was experiencing, really, we have undertaken a larger problem and are seeking out to to change the social experiences of the disabled community. And we're very excited.
Yeah. And, we really do see ourselves changing the world for good. And because so many people undervalue connection and they don't realize just how many aspects of life loneliness can affect. And we see this loneliness epidemic it's so prevalent. And we really want this community who has been ignored and overlooked for so long to feel like that there is this place where they belong. I think there's this lack of culture among the disability community, and there's a lot of culture within other marginalized communities like the queer community or the Black community, and I think it can be difficult for the disability community to come together. One, because it is so diverse, but two, the world just was not made with us in mind. And so there are these accessibility issues where, the spaces literally are inaccessible. They can't go in, or they feel like they don't belong and it's not inclusive. And like Alexa said, we do have several success stories, and those ages range from their 60s to early 20s. And so that's really great. We've seen this large influx of older people, and which shocked us, because someone once told us, you either age into disability or you die young. And that really was profound. And unfortunately, we learned that ableism does not stop when you reach a certain age. We've heard from a lot of users who are in that age group that people are still judgmental and they still will discriminate against you. And so we're really pleased that we have offered this platform for people to connect, and that it's truly working, and that the proof is in the pudding. But another aspect of Dateability and the movement we are promoting is increasing the representation of disabled entrepreneurs. It can be really hard to be a disabled entrepreneur, but it's possible. And I never thought it could be. I always felt like, I do struggle with a lack of energy and fatigue, and just having so much unpredictability with my chronic illnesses. So I was like, oh, there's no way I could run a business like this. But I've realized that I can, and that I just have to adjust and adapt. And really talking about it is important for us, and having other people who are in the disability community realize that they can do it, but also having people outside of the community realize that disabled people are good employees, can do it, because the workforce is just not accommodating to disabled people. And there are a lot of wrong assumptions about our capabilities and our work ethics. And, just because someone's work schedule doesn't look like another person's doesn't mean they are not as productive or a good employee. So that has been a really important part that we want to publicize and talk about, because that's something that we didn't really go into this thinking, oh, we want to be a spokesperson for disabled entrepreneurship. But it's been a really nice new perspective for me and for people. And I think it's important to fill that gap that is, largely empty among disabled entrepreneurs, because disabled entrepreneurs and founders are 400 times less likely to receive venture capital funding. And I think women founders
received, I think it was 2.5% of all the venture capital funding last year. So if you combine female and disabled founders together into one, there's like no venture capital funding for us. And I really thought going into it naively so that we would be the exception because we are the only players in this space. But we found out that we're not. It's really hard to get funding. A lot talking about disability and intimacy is either, somebody can't relate, which is short-sighted because it's the only minority that you can join at any point of your life for any reason, or it makes people feel uncomfortable because a lot of times disabled people are infantilized, or a lot of things are focused on getting necessary services like medical services, employment, quality of life. But people, like Jacqueline said, forget that connection is quality of life, and connection and loneliness can affect your mental health, your physical health. They say that people who are lonely tend to develop more heart disease. It can affect your work product and how efficient you are at work. And so it really does affect everything. And I think the rest of the world overlooks that. And we are just here to bring a lot of awareness to a lot of different things while keeping our focus. We're trying to keep our focus that we are here to make love accessible. And then, the side projects are having to do with disabled entrepreneurship and calling on, the lack of marriage equality among disabled people. And they all really do tie back into each other. And we are just really happy and flattered that we are the ones spearheading this.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much. And we are here to answer any and all questions.
There were another 18 minutes of Q&A. Here are 2 minutes of the highlights.
So we are available in North America, and hopefully we'll expand globally soon, but that does come with a price. So we're building a strong market presence in North America. So we shockingly are split very 50-50 for male and female, which is incredible because most of the dating apps are majority men. And so that's been a fun surprise. And then we also have 48% of our community identifies as queer. And that is an astounding number, but there is such a large intersectionality between disabled people and the queer community. So it's not shocking, but it's really beautiful to see how diverse and how inclusive we are, and that people do feel like Dateability is a safe space no matter who they are and how they identify or who they love.
And, we're happy that we have 20,000 users in just a year and a half with zero marketing budget. There is no cost right now, and that was really important to us to start out free, to gain the trust of this community. But it isn't just for disabled people. 10% of them are not. So, you don't have to diagnose somebody when suggesting go on Dateability. And when they meet their partner, they'll be really grateful.
Well, it sounds like you brought compassion into a space that is going to be appealing to lots of people. Well, I'll wind things down and then hand it back to you two for the final word. All of you who've taken your time to join us and learn about the cool things that are happening around the world to make communities better, to improve people's lives in the kind of innovative way that we see with Dateability. We thank you for your time. As we always like to do, we hand it back to our speakers for the final word. So Jacqueline and Alexa, what would you like people to have clearly in mind as they finish watching the video?
Yeah, we would just love to encourage everyone to join the movement to making love accessible. We are available for free to download on Apple, Android, and available at dateabilityapp.com. We're also on all the social media platforms. We are always here to answer any questions or to receive any feedback. And I just want to let the world know that we are committed to making Dateability the go-to platform for the world's largest minority. And we really thank you for this opportunity to present.
Yes, thank you so much.
Well, it's inspiring. Thank you both. And everyone else, we will see you next week.